The first motor car in the village. The evening stillness. It was the kind of evening that wrapped itself softly around the world, gentle, slow, and filled with the golden hush of twilight. The sun had already slipped behind the distant hills, leaving long shadows stretching across the dusty paths of the village. The air smelled faintly of wood smoke and damp soil. Somewhere a cowbell rang lazily as a farmer guided his animals home. The sound of life was calm, measured, as if even the wind had paused to listen to the rhythm of the countryside. In the heart of that quiet lay an old wooden house, its windows glowing faintly from the light of an oil lamp. Inside, a young man named Ralph sat by the open window, his chin resting on his hand. He was listening, not to the people outside, but to the stillness itself. The crickets were beginning their nightly symphony, and the faraway call of an owl echoed through the fields. For Ralph, this silence was a kind of friend, a presence that spoke in whispers of peace and memory. He had lived all his life in this place, among dirt roads, the hum of bees, and the creak of old carts pulled by horses. The world beyond seemed distant and slow-moving, like a dream glimpsed from the edge of sleep. Sometimes travelers passed through, carrying strange tales of cities filled with light and sound, where machines moved faster than wind and people rarely looked up at the stars. But here, in this quiet corner of the earth, time walked barefoot. Ralph's grandmother sat nearby, weaving something from palm leaves. Her fingers moved slowly, rhythmically, as if they knew secrets that no one else could remember. Occasionally, she would hum an old tune, a melody from a time before radios and electricity. When the song faded, the silence felt heavier, yet peaceful. Outside, the scent of freshly baked bread drifted through the night air. The old clock on the wall ticked softly. Ralph leaned back and looked through the window. The fields shimmered faintly under the moonlight. The world was breathing, calm and steady. He could almost hear his heartbeat blending with the rhythm of the night. He didn't know that this peaceful moment, this still evening, would be the last of its kind. For something new, something never seen before, was about to roll into their world and change it forever. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the night breeze brush his face. "So quiet," he whispered. His grandmother smiled faintly without looking up. "Yes," she said, "the night listens when hearts are calm." From far away, a faint echo stirred, so faint that it might have been the sigh of the wind. Ralph didn't notice it at first. The dogs didn't bark. The crickets went on chirping. But that sound was there, growing softly beneath the music of the night, a trembling note of something alive, something mechanical, something unknown. It was a night before the change. The stars were quiet witnesses, shining down on the sleeping world. Ralph yawned, stretched his arms, and looked out once more toward the distant road that curved beyond the mango trees. He could see nothing unusual, only the silver thread of moonlight lying on the path. But somewhere, beyond the horizon, a machine was breathing, its engine awakening to life, carrying the first heartbeat of a new age. And soon that heartbeat would reach the village. It began as a whisper, a strange, rhythmic murmur rolling through the still afternoon. At first, it was barely noticeable, a distant vibration carried on the warm breeze. The farmers working in the fields paused, straightened their backs, and shaded their eyes. There was nothing on the horizon but the shimmer of heat and dust. Yet the sound persisted, a pulsing put-put-put, soft at first, then steady, then louder. In a place where silence had always ruled, any unfamiliar noise became a story before it even arrived. Some thought it was thunder trapped between the hills. Others said it must be a traveling spirit, dragging its chains through the air. The older men smiled and shook their heads, pretending not to care, but their eyes searched the road all the same. Ralph was sitting under the banyan tree near the well when he first heard it. The noise was unlike anything he had known. Not wind, not animal, not the creak of carts or the rustle of grain. It was alive, somehow, like a heartbeat made of metal. His friends ran to the edge of the field, their bare feet leaving dusty prints behind. "Maybe it's a monster," one boy cried, half in fear, half in wonder. "No," said Rolf, frowning. "Monsters don't sound like that. It's different." The sound grew louder. Birds fluttered out of the trees. The cattle lifted their heads. The earth seemed to hum faintly beneath their feet. Ralph felt something tighten in his chest. Not fear, but excitement, the kind that makes your heart race faster than your thoughts. From the doorway of the old house, Ralph's grandmother looked toward the fields. Her wrinkled hands froze on her lap. "Ah," she murmured softly, "the world is changing again. I can hear it in the wind." The children ran through the lanes, shouting, calling others to come and listen. "Something's coming! Something's coming down the old road!" Before long, half the village had gathered along the dusty path that curved between the mango trees. Men in turbans, women with scarves pulled over their heads, even the dogs wagging their tails, all stood listening. And then it came. A glimmer of sunlight flashed off something metallic, a shape, moving, rumbling, alive. Dust rose in clouds as the sound grew louder, sharper, stronger. Foot, foot, foot. The rhythm beat like a drum, echoing through their bones. For a brief moment, time seemed to pause. Even the wind stopped moving, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Children squealed and hid behind their mothers. One man shouted, "Run! It's fire on wheels!" Another laughed nervously, "No, no, it's a city beast. They say it eats no grass." But Rolf stood perfectly still. His eyes were wide, his breath shallow. The sound, now deafening, filled every corner of the air. He could see the dust clouds swelling, the sunlight bending, the faint outline of a strange creature of metal and glass. The motor car. It came rolling down the road like something from a dream, gleaming in the light, its wheels spinning, its front shining like the eyes of some mechanical animal. The driver sat upright, wearing a white cap and a proud grin, waving to the stunned villagers. The noise, the movement, the smell. It was overwhelming. The car exhaled a puff of smoke, its engine thumping like a giant heart. People stepped back instinctively. Chickens scattered. The goats bleated. But within that chaos, there was awe. Pure, wordless wonder. Rolf felt the world tilt. He realized that this sound, this strange, living hum, was not just noise. It was the sound of time itself, moving forward, the sound of change, of invention, of the future. He looked at his grandmother standing by the well. Her face was half-shadowed, half-lit by the afternoon glow. She smiled faintly and whispered, "Remember this, Ralph. This is how new worlds begin. Not with a storm, but with a sound." And then, as the motor car passed through the village, leaving behind a trail of dust and astonished silence, everyone stood frozen in its wake. The sound faded, slowly, like the echo of a dream that refused to end. The air was quiet again, but not the same quiet as before. Something had awakened, and it would never sleep again. The arrival of the motor car. The motor car rolled into the heart of the village with a low hum, like a strange animal purring to itself. Its metal body gleamed beneath the sun, scattering reflections across the dusty road. The villagers parted to make way. Eyes wide, mouths slightly open, unsure whether to cheer or run. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The wheels were not made of wood, but black rubber that left neat round prints in the earth. The body shone like silver and gold together. The engine made a steady rhythm, deep and confident. Thump, thump, thump. The sound vibrated through the ground, through the air, through their very bones. An old man muttered, "In my father's time, we had bullock carts. We knew their moods, their pace, their hunger. But this thing has no soul." Rolf, still frozen where he stood, whispered, "Maybe that's why it moves so fast. It carries only fire." The driver, a man in his 30s, wearing a crisp white shirt, a hat tilted slightly to the side, pulled the handbrake. The motor car came to a smooth stop beside the well. Steam hissed softly from under its hood. The driver smiled as he looked at the stunned faces around him. "Good day, folks," he said, tipping his hat. "First motor car in these parts. Brought all the way from the city." The villagers stared, speechless. They didn't understand half his words, but his pride spoke clearly enough. One brave boy stepped forward. "Does it eat?" he asked, half serious. The man chuckled. "In a way, yes. It eats firewater. Petrol." The crowd murmured. Firewater. They imagined the car drinking flames from a bottle. Ralph took a slow step closer. The air smelled of hot oil, dust, and something sharp, something new. He could see his own reflection in the shiny metal. It felt like looking into another world. "Would you like to touch it?" the driver offered. Ralph hesitated, then reached out a trembling hand and touched the smooth hood. It was warm, alive somehow, pulsing faintly under his fingers. A ripple of excitement spread through the villagers. One by one, they came forward, touching, peeking, gasping. The women whispered to each other, "It must be magic. Look how it shines." The old men nodded gravely. Yes, the city is full of strange magic now. Soon, laughter replaced fear. Children ran around the car, chasing its shadow. The driver proudly showed them the horn. He pressed it once. "Honk!" And half the crowd jumped back shrieking, then laughed in relief. The village headman, a tall man with a white beard, finally stepped forward. "Young man," he said with quiet authority, "this is a fine creature. But tell us, does it never rest?" The driver grinned. "It rests when we tell it to, sir. It goes when we wish. It carries us faster than 10 horses." That made the crowd murmur again. 10 horses. No wonder it sounded so mighty. As the sun began to lower behind the hills, the driver offered to take 1 or 2 people for a short ride. Everyone gasped. No one dared. Until, of course, Ralph raised his hand. "I'll go," he said softly. His grandmother, standing by the well, closed her eyes but didn't stop him. She simply said, "Go, my son. See what the world is becoming." Ralph climbed into the seat, his heart pounding. The driver turned the crank at the front and the engine roared back to life. Louder this time, more confident. The car shuddered once, then rolled forward. The villagers cheered as dust billowed up behind it. Ralph gripped the seat as the world blurred past him. The trees seemed to fly, the road stretched endlessly. He could feel the power beneath him, raw, mechanical, unstoppable. It was terrifying and thrilling all at once. The driver laughed. "Feels like flying, doesn't it?" Ralph couldn't answer. His heart was in his throat. He only nodded. The wind rushed past his ears, carrying away every sound of the village. The fields, the huts, the people, all fell behind. Ahead lay nothing but open road and the setting sun, painting everything in orange and gold. For the first time, Ralph understood what freedom might sound like, the hum of the engine, the song of speed, the whisper of the future. When they returned, the crowd surrounded them, clapping, shouting, laughing. Ralph stepped out trembling, eyes wide, face glowing. "It's alive," he whispered. "It's alive, and it wants to go everywhere." The motor car had not just arrived in the village, it had changed it forever. The night after the ride. That night, the village did not sleep early. The moon hung low, silvering the rooftops and glinting off the empty road where the motor car had passed. People gathered in small groups, retelling the event over and over, each time with new details. "Did you see the fire that came from its mouth?" No, it was smoke, not fire. And it roared like a lion. My heart nearly stopped when the horn shouted. Children mimicked the sounds. Foot, 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 and hunk, while the elders sat quietly, staring into the distance. Ralph couldn't sleep. He lay under the open sky, his hands folded behind his head, replaying the moment in his mind. The wind, the sound, the way the ground had seemed to vanish. His grandmother came and sat beside him. "You're awake," she said softly. "Yes," he replied. "I can still hear it, even now." She smiled. "That's how change sounds, my boy. Once you've heard it, it never leaves." The night air was cool, the stars bright. Crickets chirped, an owl hooted somewhere in the distance. Yet, beneath all those familiar sounds, Ralph could still hear the faint hum of the motor car. Far away now, like a dream, fading but not gone. He turned toward his grandmother. "Do you think more will come?" "Oh, yes," she said. "First one, then another. That's how it begins. One becomes many, and before you know it, the world forgets how quiet it used to be." Ralph didn't know whether to feel happy or sad. He only knew that tomorrow would not be the same as yesterday. As the night deepened, the village slowly fell silent. One by one, lamps went out. But even as sleep crept into their homes, the sound of that motor car lingered. Soft, rhythmic, endless. It was the lullaby of a new age. The ripples of change days turned into weeks, but the sound of that first motor car never left the village. It became part of their stories, their laughter, their dreams. Children drew it in the dust with sticks, circles for wheels, boxes for the body, and long trails behind it to show the dust it kicked up. Even the elders began to speak of it with respect. "It is not just a machine," one said. "It's a message that the world is moving, even if we stand still." Ralph, now the hero of the day, was asked again and again, "How did it feel?" He would close his eyes, smile slightly, and answer, "Like the wind carried me, like I was free." But deep down, he felt something more complicated. The road outside the village, once empty and quiet, now looked different to him. It no longer ended at the fields. It stretched beyond, calling him. The same dust that once settled peacefully now seemed to rise restlessly with every passing breeze. Then, one morning, a rumor spread. Another motor car had been seen near the town. Red, shiny, faster than the first. The news came like a spark. "So it's true," the headman murmured. "The world is filling with them." That evening, Ralph and his friends sat by the river. "Do you think one day everyone will have one?" one asked. Ralph thought for a while. "Maybe," he said. "And when they do, the world will never be as quiet again." His grandmother joined them later, carrying a lantern. "Every invention," she said gently, "is like a stone thrown into a still pond. The ripples spread far and wide. Some bring light, some bring noise, but none ever stop." As the lantern flickered, her wrinkled face glowed softly. "Just remember, my boy, when the world starts to move too fast, don't forget to stop and listen to the silence that remains." The crickets sang. The river flowed. But somewhere far away, faintly, there was that hum again. Not one, but two, maybe 3 engines now, echoing through the valley. The ripples had begun to spread. The journey beyond the hills. Months later, Ralph's life changed again. The same driver who had first brought the motor car returned, this time in a newer, sleeker one. He smiled as he stepped out. "You remember me, don't you?" Ralph nodded eagerly. "I'm heading beyond the hills," the man said. "To the city. Would you like to come?" The offer hit him like lightning. The city. The place from where all these wonders came. His heart raced. His grandmother, though old, understood before he even spoke. She placed a hand on his head. "Go," she said softly. "Every child must follow the sound that calls his heart." The next morning, under a pale dawn, the motor car roared to life again. Ralph climbed in beside the driver, waving to the villagers who cheered and shouted blessings. As they climbed the winding hill road, Ralph looked back one last time. The village was shrinking, wrapped in mist and memory. Ahead lay wide roads, strange machines, and a future that sparkled like sunlight on metal. The driver told stories as they went, of trains that could cross mountains, of airplanes that could rise into the clouds. Ralph listened, eyes wide, each story pulling him farther from the world he knew. When they stopped for the night, he lay awake beside the quiet motor car, staring at the stars, the hum of its cooling engine mixed with the whisper of the wind. He thought of his grandmother's words. "Don't forget the silence." He closed his eyes, feeling both wonder and longing. He knew he was not just traveling on a road, he was traveling through time itself, from the age of lanterns to the age of engines. The return and the memory. Years later, Ralph returned to the same village, but nothing was the same. The dirt road had turned to stone. The fields had shrunk to make way for shops. There were wires strung between poles, humming faintly like a chorus of invisible crickets. And the sound, oh, the sound. Motor cars, motorbikes, buses, all humming, honking, roaring. The air was alive with noise. The silence his grandmother spoke of had all but vanished. He walked through the lanes where children now played with toy cars instead of sticks. He smiled, remembering his own dusty sketches. He found the old banyan tree near the well, still standing, still strong. There, sitting on the same stone, was an old woman selling fruit. Her face wrinkled, her eyes gentle. She looked up and said, "You've come back, haven't you?" Ralph froze. Her voice, it was the same, his grandmother's friend. She smiled. "She used to talk about you every day, said you'd gone chasing the sound of the future." He sat beside her quietly. The breeze carried the smell of oil and smoke, mixed with the sweetness of ripe guavas. "And I found it," he whispered. "The future. It's loud, it's bright, and it never sleeps." The woman nodded. "And yet, you came back." Ralph smiled faintly, because even the wind must rest sometimes. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the village lights flickered on. Electric now, not oil. A motor car passed, its horn echoing through the dusk. Ralph closed his eyes. For a moment the years fell away. He could hear that first motor car again, the hum, the wonder, the heartbeat of change. The same sound that had woken the world all those years ago. He whispered softly into the evening, "It began here." And somewhere in the distance a faint engine responded, as if the memory itself was alive, still moving, still telling its story to the wind. Outro, relaxing, closing, soft background, gentle rain, plus distant thunder, faint hum of an old engine fading away. And as the rain falls softly on the old village road, we close our eyes and remember a world that once changed with the sound of a single engine. Every new sound brings a story, and every story brings a dream. So tonight, breathe slowly. Feel the calm of the night settle around you. Let your thoughts rest with the whisper of rain and memory. And if sleep comes, let it carry you gently to the places where time still hums quietly beneath the stars. Rain continues softly for 10 seconds, then fades to silence. This bedtime story is a fictional work of relaxation and nostalgia, inspired by early industrial history. All characters, names, and events are fictional and not intended to represent real people or historical facts. The purpose of this content is to promote calmness, imagination, and restful listening. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more bedtime journeys.